Hello and welcome to another episode of the Football is Fixable Alright podcast. You've got the brilliant threesome here again. How are we doing, guys? We alright?
Can we not use that word?
Yeah, can we stop using that word? I know the idea of it might get you excited, James, but I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I think Cess is too. If we could just keep it
I could say twosome with Dan.
strictly professional, please.
Can we call it the dynamic duo and James? Maybe
Yeah.
that could be the new one.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that.
Well, you're not very dynamic, are you? Alright, give that a go then. Anyway, hello everyone, and we are pleased to have you all here. As you can tell, we're not grumpy in any way. But, well, actually, no, we are grumpy. Because news has broken in recent weeks. Anger, we are quite angry today, and I have an off the post, which will explain exactly why. So in this off the post this week, it's Mark Pugac Cess, who is an idol of ours. So yeah, on his TikTok channel, on his social, so he posted after the news of Chelsea being punished by the Premier League for some cheating. Not alleged, it's actually proven cheating, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
So we're allowed to say that.
Yeah, no, exactly. We're allowed to say it. Chelsea deception leaves a stain on Premier League titles, and he goes off explaining why it stains their titles, right? Mm-hmm. But it was some of the comments. I thought I want to get how do people feel about what Chelsea have done? This we might go into interestingly as well, the view of big clubs, because one said, it happens at every big club and will have done for decades. So quite a cynical look at what big clubs are doing there.
Yeah.
Another said, this is a lenient punishment that's paving the way for City to get a fine and a slap on the wrist. And then I'll end with this one. I've heard enough. Deduct 10 points off Everton.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
That's
And
probably
there's
what
my
happened.
off the post.
See, this is the problem I have with it. I know that on a legal basis, Everton and Forest were deducted points because I think it was that was PSR, wasn't it? Was it FFP or PSR? Something like that. And this is something different with Chelsea. Hence, a different punishment. But what I don't understand is the punishment wasn't actually something it wasn't fixed. It wasn't like a certain amount fine if you do this. The punishment is actually an agreed upon thing. And so the Premier League and Chelsea agreed on this punishment, went to an independent regulator and said, is this a fair and reasonable punishment for what they did? And they were told yes. And that's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because the benefit they got from it would have been in the hundreds of millions over many years with many trophies, and they got given a 10 million fine.
Yeah.
When was the last time?
Yeah.
Can you remember when the last time was that they would have spent just 10 million on a player? You're probably going back to the
90s,
2004,
maybe?
2005?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe even the 90s.
They could sell one of their youth players for that sort of money easily and get that money back.
Exactly. I just don't understand why you would think it's a fair and reasonable punishment when, with PSR, for example, with what Nottingham Forest and Everton got deducted, both our teams almost got relegated because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the possible impact was huge, wasn't it? It was had a real weight against those clubs.
Real weight, yeah.
And that's the thing. It came into the kind of public domain on around 17th of March. BBC made an article on it. Chelsea's cheating was a fine too lenient. On page 6 of its sanction agreement on Chelsea's catalogue of secret payments between 2011 and 2018, the Premier League lays out what factors it considered when deciding on a punishment for the years of rule breaking over transfers. And what it involves, generally speaking, is backhanded payments to agents, making sure that certain players signed for Chelsea instead of other teams.
Yeah.
Eden Hazard, for example, who's seen as a Chelsea legend, a Premier League legend in some light. I think United wanted to buy him. I'm sure there was interest at Arsenal as well. Chelsea paid a kind of backhanded payment to agents and things like that, made sure that they got him. I think it was from Lille, 32 million from Lille.
Yeah.
And then he goes on at Chelsea to win several titles as part of another, a whole load of players as well that were also part of this whole thing. So Chelsea, and it's literally proven now that they cheated their way to several titles.
Yeah.
And it's something that we can't let slide. We have to, obviously, we're here to fix football. This is something we had to shine a light on, and we're going to have our fixes later in the episode, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a big problem because this is basically saying to the rest of the Premier League, or actually no, actually the rest of the Big Six, that you're allowed to get away with it.
Yeah.
You can do these things. At most, you're going to get a 10 million fine. I mean, they were saying on one of the newspapers that this is the biggest fine in Premier League history, so it's made a big impact.
Yep.
So what? 10 million?
Yeah.
No, to a club like Chelsea, that is nothing. That's tuppence, as the older generation would say.
It really is. Like, literally, we can't think of the last time that they would have actually spent 10 million on a player, as in like a reasonable player. Not like you'd probably pay that much to get a 14-year-old to join your
youth
team.
player of some kind, reserve player, something like that. Can I say as well, though, this is not the first time Chelsea have made headlines like this. Going back over the years, I've got records here of UEFA when they originally found Chelsea guilty and banned them. They gave them a transfer ban.
Yeah.
This was dating back 2019. I've got here as well from FIFA. Chelsea lose appeal against FIFA. FIFA have rejected Chelsea's appeal against a 1-year transfer ban, meaning the London club will not be able to sign any players for the next 2 seasons. This was back in 2019. The sanction came after the investigation into Chelsea's signing of underage foreign players. So these are other crimes. These aren't all the same crimes. They've been breaking rules for years, Chelsea, and they've won countless titles, influenced the whole shape of the Premier League as we know it. All of our football lives, we all follow teams in the Premier League, have been impacted on by what Chelsea have done.
Yeah, and we've always known this as well. We've always known Chelsea to be the antagonist, and they've got the billionaire Russian owner. It's everything
bought
about
the titles. It was always a kind of thing we used to kind of help us feel better, I think, because they broke the old status quo, Dan, United and Arsenal, and it was always good to get more teams fighting and challenging. But the way that they do it, you want to see that it's not breaking sporting integrity at the same time. Right?
I was going to say, in being devil's advocate, right? They broke the Man United.
Oh, here we go.
Hang on.
As soon as you mention Man United, it's like, oh, I think it's fair and reasonable, actually. Yeah.
So they broke the Man United Arsenal race thing. They brought more competition to the Premier League, right? So they cheated and stuff.
Yeah.
However, they brought a lot of top talent into the Premier League from across European football, and probably contributed to turning the Premier League into the powerhouse that it is. So the Premier League has probably benefited from this cheating, if that makes sense.
In the same way that Man City, I think, did that.
Yeah. So, which is why I feel like there's leniency, because Chelsea's argument would be, look at how much we've brought in to you as a brand. And I think a similar thing will happen with the City thing. I think they'll be more lenient than people think as well. I do.
Probably, yeah. And I think that's one of the big problems I have with you guys. Not necessarily personally you guys, it's more just personally James, but in general about Arsenal and Man United. The Big Six I have a problem with, because this is just yet another proof that the Big Six are treated differently to everyone else. I know that without the Big Six...
Sorry, can I just ask you to qualify before we carry on who the Big Six are now? Because
well, obviously it's Arsenal, United, City, Chelsea, Liverpool and Aston Villa.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's nice clarification.
yeah.
That makes sense.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the way that Spurs are in 17th place, their revenue, their fan base, the fact that they've won 2 trophies during the Premier League era, that's still a privilege that almost no other team has outside of the Big Six.
Yeah.
True.
Outside of the Big Six, how many clubs have actually won more than 1 trophy during the Premier League era? Most of them is just one, isn't it? Like Leicester's won the Premier League and FA Cup. But other than that, Newcastle, they won the Premier League and League Cup recently, didn't they?
Yeah.
They'd never won the Premier League.
Oh, no, they didn't.
Newcastle.
I was thinking they came second or something, didn't they? No, they didn't even win then. I was also thinking of Alan Shearer. Alan Shearer won it with Blackburn, but didn't win it with Newcastle.
Yeah, it was Blackburn, I think. Yeah, so thinking of,
even then, they just won 1 trophy. So the privilege is actually still there with Spurs. And the huge difference in money, I understand that you take the Big Six away from the Premier League will die as a global entity. As a product, it will be nothing.
Yeah.
Without the Big Six.
There's a global
I get
following
that.
of those teams.
Yeah, I get that. But we know what it's like in the real world when the top people get away with things that everyone else wouldn't because we've seen the Epstein files.
Yeah.
I think this is exactly the same thing. I think it's
You're
just
saying it's power and money.
Is there a-
Is that what
is
it
there a
is? It's the
Premier-
bigger they
power
are,
and
the
money.
more they
There's
get
a
away
Premier
with.
League
Yeah, and-
island somewhere that
exactly. You guys basically support Jeffrey Epstein. This is what I'm trying to say.
right.
Whoa,
I
whoa,
see.
whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. Right. Can I just say on behalf of me and Dan? Well, on behalf of me, I do not support.
Well, can I
There may be a Premier League island though.
can I say on behalf of myself, I do not support. However, I would say
It's a good thing that I edit this episode, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna take that out.
yeah, cut it out. Same thing.
Yeah, we'll just take the word "not"
Yes,
out.
yeah. I can see that. I can imagine like as much. Obviously I hate them. I can imagine the Glazers at such an island. I can imagine that happening quite easily. So.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can see
100%. Yeah, I just think that the punishments that they get, punishments are meant to be a deterrent, aren't they? Whereas I
Exactly,
think this is a very clear evidence that this isn't a deterrent. This is a way for the Premier League to make some more money. They get 10 million in the bank for nothing, basically. And they clearly don't want to use it as a deterrent because they don't want to, anchor or handcuff the big six. They want them to spend the money to get the global audience to watch the Premier League. They want that draw, don't they? So
Well, they're partners, essentially, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Premier League and the big six clubs, the biggest clubs in that, are kind of have mutual benefit of doing well.
Yeah,
So
and in
if
the
big
same way
six
that
clubs do well, it promotes the Premier League. So
yeah, and in the same way that it used to be players were bigger than the club, but we all know now that's the other way around. There's only a handful of clubs that are actually, you could say, are bigger. Like Real Madrid maybe is one of the only clubs now where you could say no player is bigger than that club. But aside from that, United and Arsenal, they're usually at the whim of the players now. They could just call the shots all they want.
Yeah.
And I think it's a similar thing with these Premier League clubs are so much more powerful than the league itself that they really don't want to punish these clubs that are the money makers for them.
no, what we should say, I guess, and it was reported that the Premier League gave a lenient punishment to Chelsea of this £10 million because
God.
Chelsea, it was what happened under Abramovich, wasn't it? When Abramovich ran Chelsea and all of these rules, all these rule breaking, and the UEFA article I was talking about, that was to do with not financially reporting FFP correctly, following those regulations as well. They've done all kinds of these things. More and more gets discovered. And apparently it's because when Todd Boehly bought Chelsea, they were transparent and they owned up to it, said, well, under the previous owner, Abramovich, all this stuff happened, here you go. And the Premier League said that, well, it wasn't your ownership, so we'll be a bit more lenient on you. Plus, you were transparent, you were honest, and you told us about it. We didn't just find it, you didn't try to hide it. So that's what the Premier League is saying, why it was a lenient punishment.
That only makes sense if the punishment is meant to be paid by Todd Boehly personally. But it never would have been paid by Boehly personally. It would have been paid by Chelsea.
Also,
and Chelsea were the club that did the bad deeds, so they should be punished.
Also Chelsea as a club benefited from it, not Roman Abramovich. But it's double standards because isn't it right that Leicester are under different ownership now to what they were when they broke FFP? Is that right?
Maybe, yeah.
They did have, I remember, because they broke some of the rules in the Premier League, and that's when they had some issues. But they also broke the financial rules in the Championship. So when they got relegated, they then had to face fines from the Championship, didn't they?
Oh, I see. Sorry. Right, okay, I'm with you.
But this is what I mean about I'm sure every fan that supports clubs that have played against Chelsea or have been impacted on by this, sort of especially Premier League fans and stuff like that, I'm getting really emotional and nervous when it comes up to that Europa League final. Really, hopeful. You're going to sleep the night before thinking about it and waking up in the morning, right, it's tonight. And I remember watching the game, and then you're heartbroken because we get beaten by a superior team, and you think, oh, well, fair play, they beat us 4-1. But then when you think it was Hazard and it was David Luiz and it was all these players or whoever was on the pitch at the time that they signed through cheating.
Yeah.
And you think it makes you feel like, and that's just one game. Think about all the years in this time when they're playing against all the Premier League sides, the European sides, FA Cup teams.
You do wonder though
and it's just unfair
if it continued outside of Chelsea. So you think obviously they've come up and said you wonder if it goes on unknowingly, because you think of those players like Luiz and Matic you mentioned as well, because obviously he came to Man United. Do you think those players would have expected the same thing as if it was like the done thing, and maybe other clubs would have done the same thing, signing them on? You know, who's to say it's not done by everyone?
We should say in the report the players had nothing to do with it themselves. It was their agents that were benefiting specifically.
Okay.
It wasn't the players that were necessarily, or at least that's what the report says.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would be the case. Players, they usually just say, I want to play for this team or whatever, and then the agents go and do it for them, don't they?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, so the agents are the ones who are really benefiting from it. And obviously that impacts on the financial, and this is where some of the real dealings come from, because Chelsea were hiding these transactions. So they weren't financially reporting correctly, and that's also why UEFA fined them a few years ago, back in 2023.
But this is what I get so annoyed about as well, is that whole leniency, because they owned up to it, they came forward. Well, Everton came forward with all of our stuff, so that's why they, instead of deducting us 10 points, they deducted us 6. But the problem is, we've had these punishments now. We've had Forest's punishment and we've had Everton's punishments. So we've got like a benchmark of a deterrent within the Premier League already. And then there's already talk that we've got with Man City. Everyone's talking about they should be relegated, they should be deducted however many points on this stuff. So we've already got this benchmark in our minds. And with what Chelsea got, you know, this is something
that doesn't add up, does it?
No. Yeah, like I said, it wasn't. There was no standard of what the punishment should be, so it's an agreed punishment. And yet, even with this benchmark that everyone had in their minds, it was still 10 mil, whatever.
Yeah,
it's just wrong.
And
that's the thing. I know
it doesn't make sense, does it?
We're not. I mean, normally, as our regular listeners would know, we think very highly of Chelsea, don't we? We never say anything bad about them.
Absolutely.
So this is just genuine kind of like shock that we're.
I think we think of Chelsea just as highly as we do Arsenal, don't we, Dan?
I don't know if I can even bring myself to say such a thing.
I also want to go into more of this impact because of how I'm more and more angry and emotional the more I'm talking about this stuff, because it's just undermined what we've just been watching in the Premier League for the last 10, 15 years or so. It's just
I don't know why you're getting angry. You're one of the big six. You're one of the problem.
Yeah.
No, we're not. We don't cheat. We could have won more titles in that time if it weren't for Chelsea. So look at this. So
how
as well
do
as
you know,
the initial
though,
advantages,
this is what I mean. This is why I'm so nervous as a United fan to say something bad at this point, because you just don't know. In a year's time, it could come out that this is what everybody does, and then we're stood here with egg on our face. You know, you've got to got to be careful.
Also, it's not something
Abramovich was a cheat, and we knew it at the time. It was Roman.
We knew it at the
Abramovich
time, but Arsenal are still Arsenal. So you came second twice in a row, and then when City started doing badly, it was this idea of, well, now Arsenal have a clear run to the finish line, and then you got beat by Liverpool. So you can't just say, just because of, if these guys do badly, we could potentially win. You can't just say that. I would say that's a very Arsenal. That's a very Arsenal way of thinking about it.
Yeah,
that's what the word potentially means. It could potentially happen. Chelsea obviously won several titles in this time.
No, you said we would have won more.
I think there's a good potential we would have. Even Spurs, you know what? I'm going to even take the high ground here and even defend Spurs. They were fighting against Leicester for the Premier League, and they came third in that 2-horse race, if you remember.
Are you sure you're defending Spurs? It sounds more like you're making fun of them.
So Arsenal ended up coming second in that particular title race, even though Arsenal weren't in it. But Spurs lost the game at Chelsea, and Hazard scored as well. He scored a couple of blinding goals. They lost like 3-1 or something. It was a cracking game near the end of the season. Spurs are fighting against Leicester, but that was really the nail in the coffin that enabled Leicester to win the league. It was one of the games where not just the actual result itself, but the kind of psychological impact of it, the way the game went at that point in the season. Chelsea stopped, one of the key reasons Spurs didn't win the title that year. Thanks, Chelsea.
I don't think so, because I think Leicester were pretty well ahead anyway. They were flying. I think it would have been difficult to stop them. And Chelsea came 10th.
They won the league with one of the lowest points tallies, didn't they?
They did, yeah. But Chelsea came 10th that year. You can't
Yes,
just
but
blame
the game,
Chelsea
when they
who came
played
10th.
They played Spurs in that game near the end of the season. It was the title race was still relatively close at that point, and Chelsea knocked the stuffing out of them. It definitely derailed them, and it was one of the reasons that kind of held Tottenham back. Obviously, they're Spursy. They probably wouldn't have won the league anyway.
I was about to say, you're giving far too much credit to Spurs.
That's a lot of credit to Spurs, yeah.
Yeah.
See, there you go. I can give credit to Spurs. But anyway, just to kind of, I want to go in a bit more detail before we get into the fixes of how serious this stuff is. So obviously the initial advantages of them being able to sign these players, such as Hazard, who transformed that Chelsea team and made them very successful for that period. They then sold Hazard for £88.5 million, which was 100 million euros.
Right,
plus
okay. I was
add-ons,
going to
though.
say.
Yeah, but also there was plus add-ons. So obviously how well he went to Real Madrid, and then depending on what he achieved at Real Madrid, there'd be various
Plus
bonuses
add-ons?
as well.
What, like free roaming and international
company
calls?
car and stuff. I think it was like company car.
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff. So 130 million plus 5 million. This is in pounds. Was a payment bonus in 2024. So Chelsea was still getting bonus payments come through as late as 2024.
Wow.
Hazard wasn't even playing for Real Madrid at that point, but because Real Madrid has a team that he was the squad member of, did something in the Champions League or won it or whatever it was, Chelsea get more money from it because he was part of that squad that won the title or whatever it was. So it was nearly £100 million profit. So I'm not just talking about the overall sum of money, but actual profit, if you net profit, essentially.
Yeah.
Chelsea then invest that money and win the Champions League in 2021. So this is going past the kind of 2018-19 period that we're talking about. They win the Champions League in 2021, but a lot of the money from that profit that was made helped them to do that. And I'm getting banter and stuff from Chelsea fans saying, "Oh, we've won the Champions League, you haven't." Oh, they did it through cheating. They should not have that money to invest in their squad. It is not just the initial cheating, it's the whole butterfly effect, the ripple effect that followed. And then they go and win the Club World Cup, etc. So it's not just the window of 20.
I thought I was supposed to be the one that was really angry about this, but we seem to have set James off, haven't we?
He almost hates hates Chelsea as much as we dislike Arsenal.
I think so. Yeah. I think he understands what we feel now.
Yeah.
I just don't forgive how Abramovich came in. It felt wrong at the time. And at the time, there weren't any... When Abramovich first came in 2003, there weren't any FFP rules at the time. So he could technically spend what he wanted. The reason the FFP came out was because of what Abramovich did. But then to do all this backhanded cheating stuff, even at the time before those rules were there, though, there was always suspicions I had, like the way they tapped up Ashley Cole. Tapping up was also against the rules. It's like they've got their own set of rules all together.
It's like they've got their own set of rules.
Right, so there's plenty to fix. But before we can do that, it's time for a half-time head-scratcher.
Good afternoon. It's time for another half-time head-scratcher, and today's question is all about European records. Which European team has recorded the longest unbeaten run over all competitions? Find out after these commercials. Hello. Before the break, I asked you which European team has recorded the longest unbeaten run. That would be Borussia Dortmund, who are unbeaten over 51 games under Xabi Alonso between 2023 and 2024. Wunderbar, die Borussen!
Cheers, Koopy. Thanks for that. Saying that, Coops probably won't be happy if he knew the topic we're talking about. I wonder what he'd be thinking about the Chelsea cheating.
That's a good point. Well, I mean, he is quite a logical guy. I think he's not going to try and defend it. You know, like those City fans that seem to be defending City, saying, "Oh yeah, we're innocent," as though they know anything. I don't think.
Well, as you know, some of the students I get a lot of banter from some of the students I teach, and there's a Chelsea fan who was winding up me about sort of not having won a Champions League and all this type of stuff. We're the best team in London, he was saying, all this type of thing. And I said, yeah, but you know, a lot of what this was before the news fully broke out that they'd recently cheated, because I was going back on the UEFA fine from 2023 or whenever it was. And I said, but you know, it's been proven that you cheated, and that's why you had a transfer ban. And his response was, yeah, so I don't really care. We still won it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like,
to be
I
honest,
just can't understand
I
how
understand that.
you win medals that way.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I was just brought up in the way that you play the honest way, and I suppose that's why.
Okay.
So I won't probably ever win anything.
Well, you say play the honest. Like, okay, so if it does come out, just for the record, Seth, we'll just make a note of this. If it does eventually come out that Arsenal are also involved in some kind of financial dirty work, we must remind James of his point.
Yeah, we'll go back to this, and then he'll be probably at the time in the future he'll be going, but Mikel Arteta built from the ground up, and we did it the right way. Yeah, I think
we have done it the right way.
We cheated in the right way. We got the money from false means in the right way.
Cheating. Okay.
No, I'm saying you don't know. What I'm saying is you don't know. Like you.
I do know.
There's no way you can know. It may well be.
You sound like a Man City fan right now.
It could be happening with all of these clubs.
Cheating is rule violation, right? Don't make me get the definition up. Chelsea broke the rules. Teams will always want to push the rules. They'll always be trying to find loopholes and things like that. But everything Chelsea does, and even under the Todd Boehly ownership, they've been trying to find every loophole under the sun. It's just part of the culture of that club, isn't it? That's just the type of club Chelsea are.
Oh, I think he's finally broken the mic. He's finally.
Oh, he's his phone's run out of battery, hasn't it?
Oh, of course it has. Should we just carry on? Should we carry on with this episode without him for a little bit, and then just keep it in? Just keep it in.
That's a good idea.
So just have him go mid rant, and he just cuts out.
He's run out of battery, hasn't he? Should we just carry on without him?
Yeah.
Let's just.
Okay.
I think the problem is we can talk logically about this because we can say, I mean, my team has cheated, and I've openly said that I wanted us to get punished and I wanted us to accept it. And you've already said, that you're skeptical about.
I'm not naive enough to think that my team hasn't at some point done something that is maybe a little bit pushing the boundaries of the rules financially.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, when you're at the top, you want to do anything you can to compete and get an edge, don't you? All the top teams do.
Yeah.
So if this is something that was happening and we wanted to compete, there's every chance that every team at the top level at the time is doing that to try and compete. And to be like, no,
absolutely,
there's no way. No, we never cheat. I think it's tempting fate a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's so going to happen in the future, and I will love it.
100%.
Yeah,
and then when it does, we have to remind him what he said about saying,
Luckily, we record all of our conversations nowadays, so that's good, isn't it? Yeah.
The benefit of having a podcast.
Yeah. Well, in terms of fixes, there is something that I would like to say as a fix. If they're going to go down the route of a fine, then okay, let's make it a fine. However, let's not just have this, hey, let's agree on something. Does 10 million sound okay? Yeah, let's leave it at that. No, I think what it should be is that they should be fined the profit that they would have made on selling these players. So if they bought Hazard for 32 million, sold him for 88 million, they would have made a profit of, 55 mil, 56 mil. Yeah. So they should be fined 56 mil for Hazard. And then however much for the other players. It could be, I don't know, let's say 200 million for the 7 players plus the players that we don't know about. I would reckon that's more of a deterrent. The punishment is meant to be a deterrent, isn't it? 10 mil, nothing.
Well, the one thing you would say, though, is you tend to make a loss on players as well, don't you? So you don't often buy a player for 50 mil and then get a profit on them at 60 or 70. You can buy a player for 50.
Hello. My mic's back.
There he is.
We're right.
There he is.
Oh,
bit of a shame.
What a shame. Yeah.
The episode got good,
that
didn't
little
it?
moment. Yeah, that was nice, wasn't it? We'll go back to James's monologue about how Chelsea are cheaters now.
Arsenal could have won so many titles.
100%. You could take the floor back now, James. You can have the next 20 minutes again. There you go. We'll just sit here.
I don't know what you've said, but it better not be. We're recording remotely this time, so I'm the only one in the studio, and you're remote. So you better have just kept it professional. I don't want my podcast being brought down to the gutter.
We were proper professional. We just brought in our first fix. I was saying about how if the punishment is going to be a fine, then the fine should be enough to actually deter even the big 6. So I was saying The fine should be the amount of profit they would have made on selling these players. So if they sold, what was it? Hazard was bought for 32, sold for 88. So they would have made a 56 mil profit. Boom, 56 mil fine just for Hazard. And then so on and so forth for the other players. Dan did.
So it's tailored to the actual club.
Yeah, Dan did bring in the point that some players might have been sold at a loss because, I can't remember how much was Matic bought for by United. Although that's United actually. United overpay everyone, don't they?
Yeah, I think it was something like 30 or something like that. But then when we sold him, I think we only got something like 5 or 10. No, I think he just ran his contract out, so we lost 30 million on him.
Chelsea paid 21 million for him from Benfica when Chelsea signed him. So
just for him, basically, you could say that you could fine about 10 mil for him.
Yeah,
that's the fine that they got just overall.
Yep.
That's not a deterrent at all. Imagine if they got told, right, any profit you've made from these players, you're paying. That will deter almost any club out there.
But also, I'm thinking about the sporting. Obviously, that we're looking at that as a business and assets and profit and things like that. But from a sporting idea, the integrity of the Premier League is up in the air. And I think this is another reason why the Premier League wants to go gentle with the fine, because the more serious they make this, the more they've said it's basically a write-off. All these Premier League titles we gave out, all the seasons over that period of time, it wasn't fair. People were running a quicker race than others because they blood doped, because they cheated, essentially. So
yeah, but that's another fix. That's I think this whole idea about the Premier League integrity, I don't think it matters to the Premier League at all. I think they just want to make sure that they're as big as possible. But I think we need to own up to the fact that 2 of our big 6 are cheats. And I think we need to show the world that we're willing to actually do what's necessary to not bring the game into disrepute. That's what Italy did. Yeah. Look at what Italy did with Juventus.
Yeah, very true.
So I think that's what we need to do.
No, I completely agree. I absolutely agree with that. It's just the thing is, you said the punishment isn't that bad. So if you're Newcastle right now, they've got, they're the wealthiest club, aren't they? Technically, they're owners. So why don't they just think, I'll just break all the rules then, and we'll just pay the fine. We'll just deal with it. We might as well just break all the rules. Well, this money doesn't mean anything to us. We can spend what we want. Let's just do that and just build a super club.
Well, I think the whole, it was under different ownership and all of that. I think that's kind of deterred existing owners from doing anything, because then you're like, okay, if I do something, I am liable for it. I think that's probably helped stem that off. But
but in business, in business, you could just be clever about it and just transfer ownership and still have a stake in a club. You could still have shares in it, still have financial benefits from it, but you just transfer ownership over. So there's all kinds of ways that clubs can start playing this game. If this is going to be the be all and end all of the Premier League punishment, you could get a bit just sly with it and just start, okay, then we'll cheat and then we'll just play the game a bit. We'll transfer ownership and we'll do whatever the Premier League wants us to do, because the Premier League doesn't want to lose us. We're a huge club and blah, 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 blah. It's just...
So what you're saying, James, is we need to get rid of the big 6.
I
that's
think,
your fix.
I think I've got a fix, and I'm going to fall on my sword a little bit here. I think all the big 6 teams should be investigated for the same thing. I think we need a line in the sand. I think all of the big 6 teams that have spent X amount of money should all have a thorough review to see all of this stuff, get everything out in the clear, because I don't buy that it was just Chelsea that were up to it.
Yeah.
So I think, like, literally of that period, top 6 teams in that period of football, everyone is investigated, everything is drawn out. Mm-hmm. Everyone gets a punishment. There's a line in the sand, and then regulations can then be set to, this happens again, this is what the punishment is. And also, in investigating all of the clubs, they'll learn all of the ways of cheating to then say, this is what we need to punish, this is what we need to punish, this is what we need to punish, and we're going to do it by this means. It's just so you know, guys, if you do this again, this is what's going to happen to you. It'll just deter everybody.
Yeah.
I think that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I like that idea because, like you say, we know that it's not just going to be these clubs.
How
It's
do we
not
know
just going to be
that?
Chelsea and
No.
City.
No,
Just because, yeah,
you
we
can't,
we
like,
know
if you think about, like, at the top level of sport, any sport, let alone football, the top level of any sport, it's cutthroat, and you're always
trying
wanting
to
to
find
get
advantages. I get that, but
yeah, and you're always trying to get the advantage of your. So the thing is, if these agents, right, agents don't deal with one club, which means agents would have quite openly have been saying to other clubs, "Oh, Chelsea are willing to give us this.
Yeah.
Are you?
yeah.
If they're willing to do it with Chelsea, they're willing to do it with any club,
Well, no, but this
right?
is the thing. Like, so Man
What are
United,
you,
for example.
what are you willing to do? You know,
Just
and
to-
then eventually people engage in that stuff.
I get the principle of what you're saying. In theory, that could happen, and maybe it might have happened in some form. Who knows? But what has been proven, every club has to record all of their financial transactions and send them to the Premier League, to UEFA, and so on, right, to conform with these laws. It was Chelsea that breached the rules. They had gaps in their transactions. The other clubs don't. United, Arsenal, and all. You know, the thing is, when
But
you look
City
at
had
my point
plenty.
is, but my point is that it was not these gaps in Chelsea's finances had to be brought to the attention of the Premier League. So they had to hold their hands up and say, "Oh, this is what these guys did. Now we've taken over." How was that not seen beforehand?
You have to, in
So
accounting,
if-
you have to report
if it's
every single transaction. You can't just hide it. You can invest it in different
But
ways.
it was
that
hidden.
gets-
That's my point. It was hidden. Todd Bowley came out and said, when Todd Bowley took over, what, in 2023, 22? When did Todd Bowley take
22,
over?
23, something like that.
So yeah, so he's come out in 2022. Now this is cheating that's happened all the way back to, when did you say, James?
well,
2010.
officially 2010, 11 sort of time, but it
Right,
likely would
okay.
have gone on before
So-
that.
So from 2010 to 2022, right? All of this, you have to hand over your finances. You have to That means nothing because there's 12 years there where Chelsea handed over their paperwork and no one saw anything wrong with it, which means people can hand in paperwork and it look perfectly official and like no one's cheating when actually there's probably some going on.
And that's only to do with what they were caught with as well. What I'm trying to say is, even in the last 3 years, what is it? We've had Leicester, Nottingham Forest, Everton, Chelsea, and Man City all caught with almost all different things.
Yeah.
If 5 clubs in the last 3 years have been caught for cheating, I'm pretty sure it's not just exclusive to these 5 clubs. There's going to be other ones. But the biggest problem I find is that I know I mentioned the fix about using a bigger fine for a deterrent. The one problem is I don't think money, as in like a financial fine, is a deterrent because these clubs make a lot of money. So if they're making a lot of money and then you say, right, we're fining you money, that's what they've got in abundance.
Yeah.
What they don't like is having points taken away from them because success is something that they're wanting.
Yeah.
Yep.
So points deduction. But the thing is, I think there needs to be an idea of a punishment that isn't just a one size fits all. It's a punishment that is actually befitting of the position they're in.
Yep.
Like I mentioned to
And
you
the
before,
crime that
6
they
point
committed
deduction.
as well.
Yeah, a 6 point deduction and a 4 point deduction for Everton and Forest almost got us relegated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if Chelsea do something similar but on a bigger scale and they get given a 6 point deduction, well, they'll go from maybe 6th place to 7th. Ooh. City, if they get a 6 point deduction now, they'd still be second.
Yeah.
So I would say they need to have some sort of points deduction, transfer ban, something like that, which affects them more than the money that they already have, but it needs to fit the crime, like you say, and it fits the position that they're in.
I think also I've got some fixes, but first I want to shout out the Premier League for being absolutely useless during this time when they allowed this to happen. Think back to what you were saying, Dan, how this wasn't kind of dealt with and, you know, Chelsea weren't spotted at the time and stuff like that. The Premier League senior leadership between 2011 and 2018 need to be in the stocks. They need to be put out there, named and shamed. They've got a new chief exec now, so I'm not saying it's all his fault, but the previous leadership of, was it Scudamore and stuff like that, or the Prem? I'm trying to remember what his name was now. just poor leadership, not holding teams to account. Obviously, Man City are during this time as well. We're yet to know what's going to happen with the Man City thing. But Chelsea, before Man City, were the most successful club over that period of time. Then City have taken over and been the most successful club as well. So the two most successful teams over the last sort of 15 years or so have been, well, one proven to be cheaters and one yet to be determined. We'll wait and see what happens. But that is what is going to just put a mark over the Premier League's integrity the whole time, and it's affected everything we've talked about in this episode so far. It's an absolute disgrace. So I want the Premier League shouted out like that as they're hopeless for a start.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it when Everton got the charges last season, but it almost felt as though we could have actually cheated more because they gave us this It was kind of like this certain area that we could have cheated on, and it didn't really matter if we cheated more. We would have got the same punishment. So, if anything, we were too honest.
Just one reason why I'm so convinced Arsenal are not going to be wrapped up in anything like this controversy is Arsene Wenger, the great man himself, and how he was saying it just undermines everything that we're in sport for. He was so against cheating. He was, completely honest, and everything that he suffered, especially in his second half of his tenure at Arsenal, with so little money to spend.
That's something that cheaters say.
Well, he wasn't a very good cheater, was he? Because he couldn't fight for many titles.
That's so... Oh, my God, how awful.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Wenger's not Dan, Wenger's not a cheater because he said so.
Okay.
Well, he wasn't a very successful cheater, was he? Because we couldn't win anything in that second... Apart from a few FA Cups in his last few years, he had a really... he called it the best managerial job he was able to do because he had so few resources because of the new stadium and everything else. Obviously, this episode isn't about Arsenal, but Arsene Wenger...
So you're saying he's a bad manager?
He's an honest...
That's really harsh.
That is very harsh.
Yeah.
He's almost up there with Jose Mourinho.
When it comes to morals and all of that.
And Granit Xhaka as Arsenal legends.
He was an example of brilliant leadership and honest culture, integrity and all of that. That's one thing Wenger was. But anyway, I'm going to get onto my proper fixes now.
We're talking about Chelsea cheating and he's like, Wenger.
Yes. So, back to the matter in hand. Chelsea. So they need to be.
He said back to the matter in hand as though we started talking about Arsene Wenger.
Can you stop distracting me?
So sorry to let you go on about Arsenal again. Do apologise.
So moving forward, Chelsea need to be rebranded. I want it on their badge, on their shirts. Cheating Chelsea.
Mm-hmm. Cheating Chelsea.
If we can, please.
Arsenal need to be investigated.
That's a fix. Yeah.
Chelsea need to be stripped of their titles.
Of
the Premier League and Champions League and anything during the last, that 10-year period we were talking about, and even their second Champions League as well. The thing is, they benefited. They were still able to, even though these players had then left, the profit they made was reinvested. And like I said, the butterfly effect is going to have an impact on everything subsequently, isn't it? It's going to impact on all the players who are able to sign, all the success they gains following.
I think Roman Abramovich should be banned from being able to do any form of business in the UK whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, great.
Yeah, that happened.
That's already
happened. That's one thing I failed to mention, actually. Do you know that this 10 million fine, because it wasn't in Todd Bowley's era, because it was Abramovich's era, they're going to use the money that they created a charity with the sanctioned money, like Abramovich's money, and they're going to use that charity money to pay that 10 million. Did you know that? So with all of this cheating and scandal and everything like that, the only people to basically be punished is a charity that's been created to help the victims of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Oh my days.
How bad is that?
It just gets worse and worse, doesn't it?
Oh,
it's like kicking you whilst you're down. That's probably the worst thing out of all of this, because that's actually affecting people's actual lives.
Todd, can we take our payment now, please? I don't have it, but if you look at all of these war victims over here, they're good for it. They'll pay you. I'm off. See you later. Go give them the invoice.
I was honest. I was up front, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
Wow. No, but surely, even if it's not Todd Bowley's personal money, I know he is the owner with his consortium and stuff, but the Chelsea books themselves. The money should come from that, so they can't spend it on players.
Chelsea should get punished. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is what I'm trying to say with the deterrence. I don't think the deterrents are big enough. And I know that I've already created a deterrent by increasing the financial fine and then fixed the financial deterrent by a points deduction. I know I fixed the fix there. But I would say it's definitely better than just 10 million, fining a charity 10 million. That's basically all they did.
That's just
it's terrible,
shocking, isn't it? And finally, my final fix is to deduct Everton 10 points, and I think then we're all square.
Yeah, we're deserving of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after this episode, Sess, what you've said. So there we are. We fixed this is one of the worst things in football, to know that the whole integrity of the sport is up in the air now. It's just completely marred by cheating.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the worst things we've had to actually fix.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that, because my team got punished for something quite drastically, and then to see what they were able to get away with.
Yeah.
The justice doesn't feel just.
No,
I'm still really quite nervous to give any true strong opinion about it, because I still believe that something will come out about all of the top clubs, even your precious cherub Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, you were so dismissive of Wenger. I was a real surprise.
He's such an innocent man that now works for the FA as well. One of the most
FIFA
genuine. FIFA, sorry. One of the most genuine institutions in the entire world.
Yeah.
Only
and you know
the
what?
most
He comes
honest work for FIFA.
Yeah, and he comes up with so many logical, realistic answers, doesn't he, nowadays?
So many.
So, if you've enjoyed this episode, please do give us a like, share, or wherever you're listening or watching the episode. Tell your friends about us. We're still trying to grow, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. We've got a lot off of our chest today, haven't we, guys?
Oh,
and,
you say
feel a lot better for that.
I feel like me and Seth just sat here whilst you slowly
just ranted away,
elevated from your seat. As you
and
got,
another thing.
Yeah.
I don't think any Chelsea fans are still listening to this episode. But thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week, and it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.